Iran-Israel breaking news live update. The most recent information regarding the conflict in the Middle East. In southern Lebanon, Israeli bombardment resulted in the deaths of 14 individuals, according to the Health Ministry. From Michael Rios and Hamdi Al-Khshali of CNN. The Health Ministry of Lebanon reported on Tuesday that Israeli attacks on 2 locations in southern Lebanon resulted in the deaths of at least 14 individuals. According to a preliminary casualty tally conducted by the ministry, 8 individuals were killed and 21 were injured in a single strike that occurred in Sarafand. An additional incident occurred in Sidon, resulting in the injuries of 37 individuals and the deaths of at least 6. The ministry reported that rescue personnel in Sidon have been removing rubble from the site. Anger regarding the prohibition of UNRWA and a fatal strike in Gaza. The Middle East, what you need to know. From the CNN staff. Palestinian authorities have reported that an Israeli airstrike on a multi-story building in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza, resulted in the deaths of over 90 individuals, including 25 children, on Tuesday. The Israeli military stated that it was attempting to comprehend the reason for the high number of individuals in the vicinity at the time, and was targeting a suspected terrorist. Brig. Gen. Elad Goren, the commander of the Israel Defense Forces, IDF civil humanitarian efforts in Gaza, stated in a briefing last week that as far as we are aware, there is no population in Beit Lahia. The strike occurred one day after Israel prohibited the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees from conducting operations in the country, a decision that elicited an international outcry. The following are some of the most recent advancements. International condemnation. The U.S. State Department spokesperson described the strike in Beit Lahia as horrifying and emphasized that the high civilian casualty rate serves as another reminder of the urgent need for an end to this conflict. According to a spokesperson for the United Nations Human Rights Office, it was one of the most lethal single attacks in Gaza in nearly 3 months. Voices from Gaza, the Palestinians in the enclave expressed their wrath and apprehension in response to the Israeli parliament's decision to prohibit UNRWA, a nearly 8-decade-old organization that offers health care, education, and food to Palestinian refugees. UNRWA had been a lifeline for numerous displaced Gazans, according to CNN. One individual stated, "We will endure severe suffering." The Lebanese Health Ministry reported that Israeli attacks in southern Lebanon on Tuesday resulted in the deaths of 14 individuals and the injury of numerous others. Authorities have reported that the Israeli military struck numerous cities and villages in eastern Lebanon on Monday, resulting in the deaths of at least 60 individuals. According to a CNN compilation of health ministry statements, there have been over 2,100 fatalities and over 10,500 injuries in Lebanon since mid-September, when Israel intensified its campaign against Hezbollah. Hezbollah installed Shiite cleric Naim Qassem as its new commander, more than a month following the assassination of his predecessor, Hassan Nasrallah, in an Israeli airstrike. IRNA, the state media outlet, reports that Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian extolled Qassem as a bright figure who will strengthen the country's resistance against its enemies. Peacekeepers sustained injuries. According to UNIFIL, 8 Austrian members of the UN peacekeeping force, UNIFIL, stationed in southern Lebanon suffered minor injuries as a result of being struck by a rocket that was presumably fired by Hezbollah on Tuesday. A missile struck UNIFIL's headquarters in Nakura this afternoon, igniting a vehicle workshop. Peacekeepers were not in bunkers at the moment. The UN force posted in a series of posts on its official X account. CNN has contacted the Israeli military for a response. Lebanon's health ministry reported that Israeli attacks in Lebanon resulted in the deaths of 82 individuals and the injury of 180 others on Monday. According to a CNN compilation of daily statements from the ministry, Monday's figure represents the highest number of fatalities reported in a single day since September 30th. According to the ministry, Israel conducted a series of strikes on eastern Lebanon on Monday night, targeting numerous cities and villages in the Baalbek Hermel and Bekaa governorates. CNN has reported that Israel has intensified its campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon since mid-September, resulting in the deaths of over 2,100 individuals and the injuries of over 10,500 others. Examination. Israel's attacks on Iran have presented Tehran with difficult decisions. From CNN's Mostafa Salem. Iran quickly attempted to minimize the consequences of Israel's recent attacks on its territory, implying that it has implemented an exit strategy to prevent a more extensive conflict. However, the attack established a precedent that the Islamic Republic has endeavored to avoid since its inception 40 years ago. The adversaries had for decades refrained from engaging in direct confrontation, opting instead to engage in a covert war in which they traded blows. As Iran continued to activate its Arab proxy militias to attack the Jewish state, Israel employed clandestine operations to assassinate key Iranian figures and conduct cyberattacks on critical facilities. The attack on Saturday was the first time Israel has publicly acknowledged striking Iran, thereby bringing the shadow war into the open and surpassing a threshold that has prompted some in the Islamic Republic to doubt the country's deterrence capabilities. Iran's state media promptly released images depicting the continuation of daily life in its cities shortly after the assault. Schools continued to operate, and Tehran streets were in a state of congestion due to traffic. Hardline commentators ridiculed the attack on television, and social media memes ridiculed the Israeli response's narrow scope. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei chose to provide a measured response in his initial remarks following the attack, stating that the assault should not be exaggerated nor downplayed. However, that initial wave of dismissal eventually dissipated, and an internal debate arose regarding whether Iran should deploy a severe response to prevent Israeli attacks from becoming routine against a regime that prioritizes its own survival. The fear is that if they do not respond, they will normalize the notion that Israel can strike Tehran without eliciting a response, stated Trita Parsi, executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft in Washington, D.C. She also said that if they do not take action now, Israel will begin treating Iran similarly to Syria, which would result in occasional strikes. The Israeli military has stated that it is attempting to comprehend the reason for the high number of individuals present in Beit Lahia during the time of the strike, which, according to Palestinian authorities, resulted in the deaths of over 90 individuals. The Gaza Ministry of Health has reported that the strike on a multi-story building on Tuesday resulted in the deaths of at least 93 individuals, 25 of whom were minors. Human rights organizations and non-governmental organizations have condemned what is considered to be one of the most lethal assaults of Israel's most recent bombing campaign in northern Gaza.